The breaking point. The Galactic Assembly's Grand Hall stretched across 3 kilometers of artificially sustained space, its crystalline walls refracting the light of distant stars. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood before the Assembly's council, her weathered dress uniform bearing the patches of both Earth Command and the United Colonial Fleet. She hadn't worn it in 3 years, not since humanity had first been granted observer status in this august body of spacefaring civilizations. You stand accused of violations against the Assembly's primary directive of non-intervention. First Speaker Zilix announced, their bioluminescent tendrils pulsing with barely contained anger. Your species' actions in the Proxima Centauri crisis demonstrate a fundamental incompatibility with galactic civilization. Sarah's jaw tightened. The Proxima Centauri crisis. 2 weeks ago, a quantum anomaly had threatened to collapse the star system's spatial fabric, endangering billions of lives across 3 worlds. The Assembly had debated response protocols while the clock ticked down. Their solution: evacuation, abandonment, acceptance of loss. Humanity had chosen differently. We acted to preserve life, Sarah responded, her voice carrying across the hall through the universal translator. The crisis demanded immediate action by deploying unauthorized weaponry. Second Speaker Teller interrupted, their crystalline form vibrating with harmonics of disapproval, by interfering with natural cosmic processes. Natural. Sarah couldn't keep the edge from her voice. The anomaly was artificial. We tracked its quantum signature to speculation. First Speaker Zilix cut her off. Your species sees threats where there are none. You create conflict where harmony should prevail. This is precisely why the Assembly cannot risk further human integration into galactic society. Sarah glanced at the other council members. The Meridians, with their silicon-based neural networks, showed no expression. The Vex Collective's representative had turned their primary sensor array away, a gesture of dismissal. Only Ambassador Wren of the Archivists met her gaze, their compound eyes reflecting what might have been sympathy. What humanity did at Proxima Centauri was impossible by Assembly standards. Sarah pressed on. We converted a brown dwarf into a containment field. Yes, we used experimental technology, true. But we saved 3 worlds. We preserved the lives of 17 billion sentients, including 6 billion Assembly citizens. At what cost? First Speaker Zilix's tendrils whipped through the air. Your containment field violated 12 different Assembly protocols. The energy signatures alone suggest capabilities far beyond what your species claimed to possess. You have been developing military technology in secret, hiding your true potential from this body. Sarah's hands clenched behind her back. We developed what we needed to survive. To help others survive. Humanity has always exceeded its boundaries. Second Speaker Teller interjected. Your history is written in the language of war. Your solutions invariably involve force, destruction, or dangerous manipulation of natural law. We call it innovation. Sarah countered. Adaptation. Progress. You call it progress. We call it a threat. First Speaker Zilix's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. The Assembly has reached its decision. Humanity is hereby expelled from all Assembly territories. Your observer status is revoked. All trade agreements are nullified. You have 30 standard cycles to withdraw your personnel from Assembly space. Sarah felt the weight of centuries of human achievement pressing down on her shoulders. And if we refuse, then you will face the combined might of the Assembly Defense Fleet. The First Speaker's tendrils pulsed with finality. We are not blind to your military buildup, Ambassador Chen. But you would do well to remember that the Assembly has maintained peace among the stars for 50,000 years. We did not achieve this by allowing aggressive species to threaten our harmony. Sarah straightened her uniform, a gesture learned from countless diplomatic missions. Before I leave, I want to make something very clear. She looked each council member in their equivalent of eyes. Humanity didn't develop these technologies for war. We developed them because we refuse to accept failure when lives are at stake. We built impossible things because the universe doesn't care about what should be impossible when it's trying to kill you. She took a step forward, and the assembly guards tensed. You call us aggressive because we don't wait for committee approval before acting. You call us dangerous because we solve problems in ways you haven't conceived of. But remember this, we saved your citizens when you were prepared to abandon them. We acted while you debated, and we will continue to advance, to innovate, and to survive, with or without your approval. Is that a threat, Ambassador Chen? First Speaker Zulix's tendrils had stopped moving entirely. No. Sarah turned to leave the hall. It's a promise. Humanity will find its own path among the stars. And perhaps someday, when you face a crisis your protocols can't solve, you'll remember that the species you cast out was the one that never stopped trying to save everyone. The crystalline doors sealed behind her with a resonating finality. As Sarah walked through the station's corridors toward her shuttle, her communicator chirped with a priority message from Earth Command. They made their decision. Admiral Drake's holographic form asked without preamble. Yes. We're out. 30 cycles to clear assembly space. The Admiral was silent for a moment. Then it's time for Protocol Omega. Sarah entered her shuttle, sealed the hatch, and began pre-flight checks before responding. Yes. Activate the deep space research stations, all of them, and send word to the frontier colonies. We're going to need everything they've been developing out there where the Assembly couldn't see. The Assembly won't like that we had backup plans. The Assembly doesn't like anything we do, Sarah replied, punching in launch coordinates. But they just proved something we've suspected for years. The galaxy is bigger than their rules. And humanity's going to need every edge we can get to survive out here on our own. As her shuttle broke free from the station's artificial gravity, Sarah watched the Assembly's seat of power recede into the star-speckled void. Humanity had just lost its place in galactic civilization, but she couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. In the depths of human space, research stations were powering up. Secret shipyards were receiving new orders. And the technologies that had saved Proxima Centauri, technologies the Assembly had feared, were just the beginning of what humanity had been holding back. The next time the Assembly saw human ships, they wouldn't be the observer vessels of a junior species seeking acceptance. They would be something entirely new, something impossible, something human. Children of innovation. 5 years after humanity's expulsion from the Galactic Assembly, the Helios Research Station hung in the darkness between stars, invisible to all but the most sophisticated scanning systems. Its existence, like dozens of others scattered across human space, was humanity's best-kept secret. Dr. Maya Patel stood in the observation deck, watching as the latest prototype emerged from the manufacturing bay. The vessel didn't look like any warship ever built. Its hull rippled with patterns that seemed alive, quantum circuitry pulsing beneath layers of biomechanical mesh. Beautiful, isn't she? Director James Chen, Sarah Chen's brother, stepped up beside her. The Assembly would have a collective aneurysm if they knew what we've achieved out here. Maya nodded, her eyes fixed on the ship. The neural interface is fully integrated this time. The quantum matrices are stable. We've finally cracked it, James. The vessel before them represented the culmination of decades of research, accelerated by the desperate innovation of Exiled. It wasn't just a ship, it was humanity's answer to being cast out among the stars. How's Sarah doing with the diplomatic side? Maya asked, though she already knew the answer. Everyone followed the news from the frontier. James's expression tightened. Building alliances where she can. The nomad clans were eager enough to trade with us. They'd never cared for assembly rules. The frontier colonies are thriving now that they don't have to hide their research. But, he trailed off. But, the Assembly's been expanding their influence, pressuring independent worlds to cut ties with us. They're calling us the Exile threat now. Maya turned from the viewport, her dark eyes sharp. They fear what they don't understand. And they don't understand us at all. The ship outside completed its startup sequence, its living hull synchronizing with the quantum core in a display that made the stars themselves seem to ripple. This was the seventh prototype of Project Phoenix, humanity's new fleet. Ships that were part machine, part engineered life form, and part quantum computer. Vessels that could think, adapt, and evolve. The crew integration tests start tomorrow, Maya said, checking her datapad. 20 volunteers, all veterans of the Proxima crisis. They've been through the neural conditioning, but this will be their first time linking with a ship this sophisticated. James watched the ship execute a series of maneuvers that should have been impossible according to conventional physics. They still don't have names, you know. The crews keep calling them the impossible ships. That's because they are impossible. Maya smiled. At least by assembly standards. They said we couldn't merge biological and mechanical systems at this level. They said quantum consciousness couldn't be stabilized. They said a lot of things. And we stopped listening. James turned as his communicator chimed. His expression shifted as he read the message. Maya, we might need to accelerate the testing schedule. She knew that tone. What happened? The archivists. They're the only assembly race that still maintains unofficial contact with us. They've detected something at the edge of known space. Something big. Maya felt her pulse quicken. Define big. James projected a hologram from his communicator. A massive structure hung in the void, its architecture unlike anything human or assembly. This appeared 2 days ago. The Assembly's Great Council is debating how to study it safely. They've already denied 3 requests for close-range scans. Of course they have. Maya's fingers flew across her datapad, already calculating new testing parameters. How long before they decide to quarantine the entire sector? That's just it. James expanded the hologram, showing energy readings that made Maya's eyes widen. The structure is growing, and it's moving. The Assembly can debate all they want, but at its current rate of expansion, they don't have time for debate. Maya was already moving, sending priority alerts to her research team. How long? 2 months, maybe less, before it reaches assembly space. Sarah's contact among the archivists thinks it might be some kind of automated terraforming system gone wrong, or a weapon left over from a war so old even the assembly doesn't remember it. Maya reached the laboratory's main control center, her mind racing with calculations and possibilities. The Phoenix ships can be ready in 3 weeks. Not the whole fleet, but enough. The neural interfaces are stable, the quantum cores are functioning beyond expectations, and the evolutionary algorithms are. She trailed off as new data scrolled across her screens. The structure in the hologram wasn't just growing. It was changing, adapting, becoming more complex with each passing hour. James, she said quietly, I don't think that's a terraforming system or an ancient weapon. Look at these patterns, the quantum signatures. It's learning. James studied the data, his face pale in the holographic light. You think it's alive. I think it's something new, something that could either destroy the galaxy or change everything we know about life itself. Maya straightened. Decision made. And I think the Assembly's bureaucracy is going to get everyone killed, unless somebody acts first. Maya. James's warning tone was clear. The ships aren't tested. The crews aren't ready. If we intervene without Assembly approval again, then we'll be exactly what we've always been. Maya sent the activation codes to the Phoenix prototype floating outside. The ones who do the impossible when everyone else is too afraid to try. The ship's quantum core pulsed in response, its living hull rippling with newfound purpose. In the darkness between stars, humanity's impossible fleet was stirring to life. And somewhere at the edge of known space, something ancient and unknowable was awakening, something that would force the galaxy to choose between the Assembly's careful rules and humanity's reckless determination to survive. The next phase of human history was about to begin. The Nexus Crisis. The void between Frontier Station 7 and the approaching anomaly stretched empty and cold. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Phoenix-class vessel Defiant, watching the impossible thing grow through the ship's quantum-enhanced sensors. The living hull beneath her feet thrummed with anticipation, the neural interface translating the ship's emotions directly into her consciousness. "Status report," she commanded, though the ship had already shared its findings through their link. "Old habits died hard. The entity has consumed 3 more rogue planets in the last hour," her XO, Dr. Marcus Wong, reported. "Its mass has increased by 30%. The assembly evacuation of the outer colonies is proceeding at." He checked his displays. "Typical assembly speed." Elena suppressed a grimace. Typical assembly speed meant endless deliberations while people died. Already, 2 mining outposts had been lost to the entity's expansion. The assembly called them acceptable losses, while they studied proper containment protocols. The Defiant's quantum core pulsed with shared frustration. Through the neural link, Elena felt the ship's eagerness to act, to protect, to solve the impossible puzzle before them. The other 4 Phoenix ships in her task force radiated similar emotions. Determination tinged with an almost human curiosity about the entity they faced. "New data from the long-range quantum scans," Marcus announced. "The entity's structure, it's not just growing anymore. It's evolving, developing new configurations we haven't seen before." Elena watched through the ship's enhanced perception as the massive structure twisted in ways that shouldn't be possible, its surface rippling with patterns that hurt the human mind to observe. Analysis. "It's like watching accelerated evolution," Marcus said, his voice tight with concentration. "Each new configuration is more complex than the last, more efficient, more." He trailed off as new data flowed across his screens. "More what?" "More purposeful." He looked up, face pale. "Captain, I don't think this is random growth. It's building something. And whatever it's building, it's going to reach assembly space in less than a month." Elena felt the Defiant's quantum processors racing through calculations, modeling possible outcomes. None of them were good. "Send the data to the other ships. I want their AIs working on this too." Through the neural network that connected the Phoenix fleet, she felt the other vessels join the analysis. The ship's hybrid consciousness, part quantum computer, part engineered life form, part human interface, approached problems in ways no pure AI or organic mind could match. "Captain," Marcus's voice cracked with urgency. "Message from Ambassador Chen. The assembly. They've made a decision." Elena knew that tone. "Let me guess. They're going to form a committee. Worse, they're deploying their defense fleet, full strength, but not to stop the entity." Marcus swallowed hard. "They've detected our ships approaching the anomaly. They're coming to stop us instead." The Defiant's living hull rippled with something between amusement and outrage. Elena shared the sentiment. "They'd rather risk galactic destruction than let us solve another crisis our way." "The defense fleet will reach our position in 6 hours," Marcus reported. "The assembly is demanding we withdraw immediately or face consequence beyond exile." Elena felt the other Phoenix ships reaching out through the quantum link, sharing data, strategies, possibilities. These vessels were humanity's greatest achievement, warships that could think, learn, and evolve. Ships that had already rewritten half of what humanity thought they knew about physics. And they were about to face both an unknowable cosmic entity and the assembled might of the galaxy's oldest civilization. "Send word to Director Chen," Elena decided. "Tell him we've analyzed the entity's pattern. Tell him." She paused, feeling the Defiant's calculations crystallize into certainty. "Tell him it's not just building something. It's building everything. Every configuration it creates is a test, an experiment. It's trying to find the perfect form for whatever it's planning." "And what's it planning?" Elena watched the entity twist reality itself into new shapes. The quantum signatures match pre-universe theoretical models. It's trying to trigger a new Big Bang. Right here, right now. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. "Orders, Captain." Marcus asked quietly. Elena straightened in her command chair, feeling the Defiant systems align with her resolve. The other Phoenix ships waited, their hybrid consciousness humming with potential. "Send a message to the assembly fleet," she commanded. "Tell them exactly what we've discovered. Tell them they have a choice. They can either help us stop this thing, or they can waste time trying to stop us. But they can't do both." She felt the Defiant's approval through their neural link. The ship had already begun adapting its quantum matrices, preparing for whatever came next. "And if they choose to fight us instead?" Marcus asked. Elena watched the entity continue its cosmic dance of creation and destruction. "Then humanity will do what it's always done. We'll save everyone anyway." The Phoenix ships moved into formation, their living hulls synchronizing, their quantum cores pulsing in harmony. They were humanity's answer to exile. Vessels that broke the laws of physics while creating new ones. Ships that could think, feel, and evolve. And they were about to prove that humanity's greatest strength had never been its weapons or its technology. It had always been the simple, stubborn refusal to accept defeat, even when facing the end of the universe itself. Unexpected allies. The Assembly Defense Fleet emerged from hyperspace in a display of overwhelming force. 300 capital ships, each one a testament to 50,000 years of carefully regulated technological development. They arranged themselves in attack formation, weapons charge, facing the 5 Phoenix vessels that dared to challenge their authority. But Elena Rodriguez's attention wasn't on the assembly fleet. Through the Defiant's quantum-enhanced sensors, she watched the entity continue its work. Its mass now eclipsed that of a small star system, its structure twisting through dimensions that shouldn't exist. "Assembly flagship is hailing us," Marcus reported. "Put them through." Elena straightened, though the communication was audio only. The assembly still refused to acknowledge humanity's right to face them as equals. "This is Grand Admiral Nexer of the Assembly Defense Fleet." The translator rendered the voice in flat, emotionless tones. "You will power down your vessels and prepare for boarding. This is your only warning." Elena felt the Defiant's irritation mirror her own. "This is Captain Rodriguez. We've transmitted our findings about the entity. You know what's at stake. We don't have time for." "Your findings are irrelevant," Nexer interrupted. "The Assembly will handle this situation according to proper protocols." "The Assembly's protocols won't mean anything when that thing triggers a new Big Bang." Elena's frustration broke through her diplomatic facade. "Look at your own sensor data. You know we're right." A new voice cut through the channel. Familiar, unexpected. "They know, Captain Rodriguez. They simply cannot admit it." Elena's eyes widened. Ambassador Wren. The archivist representative had been one of the few assembly members to show humanity any sympathy during their exile. Not just Ambassador Wren. Another voice joined the channel, followed by another and another. Through the quantum link, Elena felt the Defiant's surprise as new ships began dropping out of hyperspace. Dozens of them, then hundreds. They weren't assembly designs. "The Nomad clans stand with humanity," a gravelly voice declared. "The Assembly's rules have kept us on the fringes for too long." "The Free Worlds Alliance joins this cause," another voice added. "We remember who helped us when the Assembly deemed our worlds too costly to save." The collective of outcasts adds its strength, a chorus of synthesized voices announced. The Assembly's fear of the different ends today. Ships continued to arrive, vessels of every size and description, representing species and civilizations that had been pushed to the margins of galactic society. Through the Defiant's sensors, Elena watched them take up positions alongside the Phoenix fleet. "What is the meaning of this?" Admiral Nexer demanded. Ambassador Wren's voice carried a hint of satisfaction. "Did you think humanity spent its exile in isolation? While the Assembly debated, they built connections. While you feared their differences, they embraced ours. They showed us that innovation need not be feared, that change need not be chaos." Elena felt the Defiant processing the tactical implications as more ships arrived. The Phoenix vessel's quantum cores hummed with new calculations, adapting their strategies to account for unexpected allies. "This is your last chance, Admiral," Elena offered. "We can fight each other while that thing ends the universe, or we can work together and try to save it. What's it going to be?" The silence stretched for long moments. Through the neural link, Elena felt her ship's systems preparing for either outcome. The other Phoenix vessels did the same, their living hulls rippling with anticipation. Finally, Admiral Nexer spoke. "The Assembly cannot officially sanction this intervention." "Officially." Elena caught the careful wording. "However," Nexer continued, "if I were to suffer a temporary communications failure with Assembly Command, and if my fleet were to independently choose to assist in preventing the universe-ending catastrophe, such actions might be retroactively deemed acceptable under Emergency Protocol 7 Alpha." Elena smiled. "Glad to have you aboard, Admiral." She turned to Marcus. "Signal the fleet, all fleets. Begin quantum synchronization. If we're going to stop that thing, we'll need everyone working together." Through the neural interface, she felt the Defiant's excitement. The ship had already begun sharing its quantum algorithms with the Allied vessels, teaching them how to operate beyond the boundaries of conventional physics. The other Phoenix ships did the same, their hybrid consciousness expanding to encompass their new allies. "Captain," Marcus's voice was hushed with awe. "The entity, it's noticed us, all of us. It's changing its patterns." Elena watched through enhanced sensors as the cosmic structure shifted its attention toward them. It was vast beyond comprehension, powerful beyond measure, and it had just recognized that it wasn't alone in the universe. "Good," Elena said, feeling the combined strength of hundreds of outcast civilizations gathering around her small fleet of impossible ships. "Let's show it what happens when the galaxy's misfits work together." The Defiant's quantum core pulsed with agreement. They had already done the impossible by uniting the Assembly with its outcasts. Now they just had to save the universe. Together. Redemption's edge. The combined fleet faced the entity in formation. Assembly warships alongside vessels of the outcasts, rebels, and forgotten ones, all guided by the quantum calculations of 5 impossible human ships. Through the Defiant's enhanced perception, Elena watched the cosmic structure pause in its endless evolution. For the first time since its discovery, it had stopped growing. It was studying them. "All ships reporting quantum sync complete," Marcus announced. "The Phoenix vessel's processing capabilities have been distributed through the fleet. They're all operating beyond normal physical limitations now." Elena felt the changes through her neural link with the Defiant. Every ship in their makeshift armada now pulsed with quantum energy, their systems enhanced by the Phoenix vessel's hybrid technology. It wasn't just a fleet anymore. It was a network of consciousness and computation, each vessel adding its unique perspective to their shared understanding. "The entity is generating new patterns," Ambassador Wren reported from their ship. "These configurations, they're unlike anything in the archives records." Elena watched as the massive structure began to move, not with its previous chaos of expansion, but with deliberate purpose. Through the quantum link, she felt the Defiant's fascination. The ship wasn't just analyzing the entity. It was learning from it. "Energy spike," Marcus called out. "It's..." Space itself twisted. Reality buckled as the entity reached out, not with weapons or energy beams, but with pure mathematics. Through their enhanced sensors, Elena saw fundamental forces being rewritten, the basic laws of physics being redefined. "All ships, evasive action," Admiral Nexer commanded. But there was nowhere to evade to. The entity wasn't attacking them. It was changing the nature of existence around them. "Wait," Elena said, feeling the Defiant's quantum core pulse with sudden understanding. "This isn't an attack. It's communication." The entity's patterns shifted again, and this time Elena understood. Through the neural interface, she felt the Defiant translating the mathematical language of a being that thought in terms of universal constants and fundamental forces. It's not trying to destroy the universe, she breathed. It's trying to save it. What? Admiral Nexer's voice cracked with disbelief. The patterns, Elena explained, the knowledge flowing through her link with the ship. They're not weapons or tools of destruction. They're solutions. The entity is running simulations, testing different universal constants, trying to find. She paused as the final piece clicked into place, trying to find a way to prevent the heat death of the universe. Through the fleet-wide quantum network, understanding rippled from ship to ship. The entity wasn't a threat. It was a caretaker, a guardian trying to solve the ultimate problem of existence itself. But its solutions would destroy everything that exists now, Marcus pointed out. A new Big Bang would wipe out all life in the current universe. Then we show it another way. Elena felt the Defiance agreement, felt the other Phoenix ships joining in the calculation. All ships, prepare for full quantum synchronization. We're going to show this thing what cooperation looks like. The living hulls of the Phoenix vessels rippled with energy as they established a deeper connection with their allied fleet. Every ship, from the most advanced assembly cruiser to the smallest outcast vessel, became part of a vast computational network. "What are you doing?" Admiral Nexer demanded. "What humanity does best," Elena answered. "We're improvising." Through the neural link, she directed the fleet's combined consciousness toward the entity. The Phoenix ship's quantum cores pulsed in harmony, translating their message into the entity's mathematical language. "We understand what you're trying to prevent," they told it in the language of physics and universal constants. "But there's another way. Look at us, different species, different technologies, different approaches to the same problems. Together, we can find solutions you couldn't find alone." The entity paused in its calculations. Its vast structure shifted, focusing its attention on their fleet with an intensity that made reality itself shudder. "It's responding," Marcus whispered. Through their combined sensors, they watched as the entity began to change again. But this time, instead of expanding or evolving, it began to contract. Its structure simplified, becoming more focused, more refined. "Show us," it replied in patterns of quantum fluctuation. Elena felt the Defiance excitement, matched by the entire fleet's collective anticipation. "All ships, begin data transfer. Show it everything. Every technology, every solution, every different approach to solving problems that each of our species has developed." Knowledge flowed through the quantum network. Assembly precision merged with outcast innovation. Nomad adaptability combined with human determination. And through it all, the Phoenix ship's hybrid consciousness translated their collective wisdom into the entity's mathematical language. The entity absorbed their offerings, its structure changing as it incorporated new ideas, new possibilities. Its attempts to rewrite universal constants became more subtle, more nuanced. Together, it communicated finally, "We will find a way." "Captain," Marcus called out, his voice filled with wonder. "The entity, it's offering to share its own knowledge with us, all of us." Elena felt tears in her eyes as she realized what this meant. Admiral Nexer, Ambassador Wren, everyone. This is why the Assembly's approach of isolation and control was wrong. The universe isn't a place of rigid rules and careful separation. It's a place of endless possibility, but only if we face it together. Through the quantum network, she felt the agreement of hundreds of ships and thousands of beings. The Assembly fleet, the Outcast Armada, the Phoenix vessels, and now an entity that thought in terms of universal constants, all working together to solve the ultimate problem. "The Assembly Council will need to reconvene," Admiral Nexer said slowly. "All our protocols, all our restrictions, they'll need to be reconsidered." "Then let them reconsider," Ambassador Wren replied. "Let them see what we've achieved here, not through control, but through cooperation. Not through fear, but through understanding." Elena smiled as she felt the Defiance satisfaction. Humanity had been exiled for daring to solve problems differently, for refusing to accept limitations. Now that very refusal had led them to this moment. to a future where the boundaries between species and civilizations began to fade, where innovation and cooperation would light the way forward. All ships, she commanded, maintain quantum sync. We've got work to do. The combined fleet hung in space alongside their new ally, their impossible alliance a testament to humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, the understanding that the most beautiful solutions come not from following the rules, but from daring to break them together. In the vast darkness between stars, hope blazed like a newborn sun.